For centuries, the Galactic Empire believed there was nothing left in the galaxy that could surprise them. They controlled thousands of star systems, commanded the largest fleets ever built, and crushed rebellions before the first shot was fired. Their science was unmatched, their weapons feared, and their dominance unquestioned. But everything changed the moment a strange signal appeared deep inside their communication network. It was faint at first, small enough that the scanners nearly ignored it. The signal drifted through space like a whisper traveling through an endless void. But when it reached the Imperial monitoring tower, every system froze for half a second. To most species, half a second meant nothing. To the Empire, which used machines that measured time in millionths of a heartbeat, it meant something impossible had happened. The chief technician frowned at his screens, tapping the side of the console. "We have an anomaly," he said. Other operators looked over, confused. Anomalies were normal. But then the lights in the tower flickered. The screens dimmed, and the signal repeated itself. This time louder, clearer, and sharper. Still only a whisper, yet powerful enough to freeze a galaxy-spanning network of machines. The chief technician called the commander. "Sir, we have a coded message from outside map space." The hall fell silent. Coded? Nothing outside the Empire had the technology to send coded transmissions. Only the oldest and strongest civilizations use encryption, and all of them were under Imperial control. The commander stepped forward and studied the waveform hovering above the console. It pulsed in a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat. "Decode it," he ordered. The technicians tried. At once, their decryption engines overheated and shut down. A second attempt caused sparks to shoot from the main console. The third attempt triggered a system-wide emergency lockdown. The commander stiffened. What is this message made of? No one knew. On the fourth attempt, the system briefly decoded the signal. Only 3 words flashed across the screen. "Stand down immediately." No signature. No source. No coordinates. Just a command. The commander stared at the words, his eyes narrowing. "Who dare send a threat to the Empire?" he growled. The technicians exchanged uneasy looks. Before they could respond, the transmission repeated itself. Only this time, the lights in the entire tower went dark for a full second. Warning alarms blared. Backup generators activated. Systems rebooted. And still, the message continued pulsing like a heartbeat. "Stand down immediately." The commander slammed his fist onto the console. "Find the origin." The scanners attempted to trace the signal through hyperspace, but as soon as they did, every central AI in the tower shut down. Screens turned black. Doors locked. Even the oxygen filters paused for a moment. The technicians gasped. "Sir, the signal is rewriting our systems." "Impossible!" the commander shouted, but even he no longer believed it. Then something even stranger happened. The transmission vanished. All consoles returned to normal. The alarm stopped. Even the emergency lights dimmed and returned to their usual brightness. Everything was calm again. Too calm. The technicians slowly returned to their seats, unsure whether to relax or panic. The commander took a deep breath. "Send reply," he ordered. "Inform whoever sent this message that the Empire does not accept warnings." The communications officer nodded nervously and broadcast the Empire's standard retaliation message, a threat used for centuries to scare civilizations into surrender. But the moment the reply left the system, the entire station trembled. The star map projected on the wall flickered violently. Then the outer edges of Imperial space shifted, warped, and twisted like fabric being pulled. A red distortion began to form just outside the Empire's border. The technicians stared in horror. "What is that? A rift?" "No, sir, it's something entering space." The distortion grew larger, pulsing with violent energy. The commander felt his throat go dry. How did they reach our border so fast? No ship can move that quickly. The technician swallowed hard. "Sir, whatever is coming didn't travel through hyperspace." The distortion cracked open with a thunderous shockwave. Lights on the station flickered once more. A massive shadow emerged from the tear, a shape too large to be a normal vessel. Its hull glowed with red lines forming patterns the Empire had never seen. Its weapons were silent, yet the sheer presence of the ship felt like a threat. The technicians gasped. It's a warship. We have no record of this design. It's not from any known region. The commander stepped back as another ship appeared. Then another, and another. Soon, dozens of red glowing shadows filled the scanner. The technicians panicked. Sir, they didn't travel here, they appeared here. How is that possible? No known species has this technology. The commander clenched his fists. Identify them. The AI system flickered alive for one brief moment, managed to process a single word, and displayed it on every screen in the tower. Earth, the technicians froze. Earth was supposed to be gone, destroyed, forgotten, a myth, a death world no one dared approach. But before anyone could speak, the transmission returned one last time, no longer a whisper, but a voice that echoed through every speaker in the tower. Calm, cold, human. This is Earth. This is your final warning. Stand down immediately. The commander felt his blood run cold. This was no threat. This was a promise. And the Empire had already broken it. The moment the name Earth flashed across the Imperial screens, the entire command tower fell into a heavy silence, as if the air itself had frozen. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. Even the lights seemed dimmer, as though the station itself felt the danger. Commander Dralos, leader of the Imperial Strategic Council, stormed into the chamber the moment he received the alert. His sharp eyes scanned the panicked technicians, then locked on the red silhouette of the unknown warship, slowly drifting into Imperial territory. What is this? He demanded. A trembling officer answered. Sir, the signal originated from Earth. The council members exchanged shocked looks. Earth was supposed to be unreachable, a dead myth locked behind forbidden warp zones. Dralos frowned angrily. Earth is nothing but a ruined world. No species survived. No ships came from it for thousands of years. The technicians swallowed nervously. Sir, their message was clear. They warned us to stand down. Dralos slammed his fist against the metal table, making several officers flinch. No one warns the Empire. We are the rulers of this galaxy. We do not obey threats from ghosts. He turned to the war map. Activate the outer defense grid. Prepare the border fleets. If these humans think they can intimidate us, we will crush them like all the others. Instantly, the tower came alive with frantic motion. Officers shouted commands. Screens lit up with glowing symbols, and battle alarms echoed through the entire station. Across Imperial space, fleets received emergency orders. Dreadnoughts powered their massive engines. Planetary defense cannons rotated and locked onto the red distortion forming at the border. Elite armies mobilized, boarding their transports with confident steps. The Empire had defeated countless civilizations, some much older and stronger than Earth. No one believed these humans could be any different. But deep inside, fear whispered through the ranks. The strange distortion in space remained open, pulsing with red light, like a wound the galaxy was struggling to seal. And the unknown warship drifting beyond the border radiated power unlike anything they had ever measured. In the Imperial Council Hall, the 10 highest leaders of the Empire gathered, each wearing ceremonial armor that symbolized their dominance over hundreds of worlds. High Chancellor Raiton sat at the head of the long table, staring at the hologram of the ship with narrowed eyes. Explain this, he ordered. Admiral Vorik, commander of the Imperial Grand Fleet, cleared his throat. We received a warning. 3 words, stand down immediately. And the signature showed Earth. The room erupted with laughter, disbelief, and anger. Earth? Impossible. A dead world. A primitive species. This must be a trick from rebels. But the laughter faded when a new report arrived. A second distortion had opened, then a third, larger than the first. The council fell silent. Chancellor Raiton leaned forward. How many ships? The technician's voice cracked. We cannot count. Their signatures are hidden. But we know the power levels are very high. Admiral Vorik waved a dismissive hand. Whatever technology they have, our dreadnoughts will crush them. We will not bow to an unknown force. The commanders nodded, reassuring themselves. But their confidence shattered when all long-range sensors suddenly went dark. The screens blinked, flickered, then shut off entirely. Engineers scrambled to reboot systems, but something was overriding their commands. One officer panicked. "Sir, our scanners, they're gone. Completely offline." Another shouted, "Communications failing. Warp routes collapsing." Chancellor Raiton stood abruptly, his voice trembling with rage. "Who is doing this?" A technician whispered the only answer he had. "Earth, sir." The interference began exactly when their transmission ended. Before anyone could react, the red distortion at the border expanded like a giant eye-opening. It stretched wider, glowing brighter, until space itself seemed to crack apart. And then a second human ship appeared, larger, darker, and surrounded by rings of spinning red energy. Imperial officers froze, unable to believe what they were seeing. Its presence felt like a storm pressing against the station walls. Admiral Vorik narrowed his eyes. Enough waiting. Fire a warning shot. The Council nodded in approval. The Empire would show dominance. But when the command was issued, nothing happened. Cannons remained silent. The dreadnoughts did not fire. Weapon systems refused to obey. "What's happening?" Vorik shouted. "Why aren't the guns responding?" A terrified engineer yelled, "Sir, our entire weapons grid has been disabled." "Disabled? How?" "We don't know. It happened instantly." A cold realization spread through the room. Earth had shut down the Empire's weapons without touching them, without hacking, without sending a virus, without even firing back. Chancellor Raiton's voice trembled. How powerful had they become? The red distortion widened again. This time, dozens of smaller red lights appeared. Human drones, swarming like glowing predators, moving in total silence. Their engines emitted no sound, no heat signature, no detectable energy. They simply existed, defying every Imperial sensor. Admiral Vorik tried to speak, but fear cracked his voice. We cannot fight what we cannot detect." Commander Dralos gritted his teeth. "We must show strength. Mobilize the inner fleets." "Already done," an officer replied, though his voice shook. But before the fleets could even reach the border, their warp channels collapsed. Ships were trapped. Engines malfunctioned. Entire communication lines died. The Empire was blind, deaf, powerless. Earth had not even attacked. Yet the Empire was falling apart. The Chancellor stared at the red, glowing tear in space, now widening into a massive gate. "What are they?" he whispered. And as a third human ship emerged, bigger than the other two, glowing like a burning star, every Imperial leader realized a terrifying truth. Earth had returned, and it did not come to negotiate. It came to enforce its final warning. The Galactic Empire watched in frozen horror as the third human vessel emerged from the red distortion, its massive frame blocking starlight like a moving eclipse. For a moment, the battlefield was silent. No gunfire, no engine roar, no movement, only the heavy presence of a power no one understood. Commander Dralos stood on the Imperial bridge, gripping the railing so tightly that the metal bent slightly under his fingers. He had seen many fleets, many battles, many rising and falling civilizations, but nothing compared to this. The human ships did not drift like ordinary vessels. They held perfect formation, motionless, as if anchored directly into the fabric of space. Their red energy veins pulsed rhythmically, like the heartbeat of a giant creature. Then, suddenly, every Imperial speaker across every border station crackled with static. Officers jumped in fear. The sound sharpened. A voice emerged. Calm, deep, human. Galactic Empire. This is Earth. The words hit harder than any weapon. Officers exchanged panicked looks. The older ones who still remembered ancient stories felt their minds go numb. Earth was supposed to be a dead world, a forbidden zone, a place no one returned from. And yet, here they were, Earth's warriors standing at their doorstep. The voice continued. "We sent a warning. You ignored it. This is your final chance. Retreat from forbidden zones now." Chancellor Raiton burst forward toward the comm screen. "This is absurd," he shouted. "Earth is a primitive world." The human voice responded instantly, as if hearing him directly. "Do not speak of what you do not understand. That reply alone shook the entire hall. Admiral Vorik clenched his jaw. His pride would not let him accept this humiliation. "Open a channel," he ordered. The communication officer hesitated. "Sir, I don't know if we can. They're controlling the system." "Open it," Vorik roared. The officer tried. The screen switched to a two-way broadcast, and the Admiral stood tall in front of the camera. "This is Admiral Vorik of the Galactic Empire. You dare enter our space and issue commands." He waited for a response. The human voice returned, but now it came with an image. The Imperial Bridge lights flickered as a hologram formed in the center of the room. A human stood inside it. A tall figure wearing black armor, with glowing red lines tracing across its surface. His helmet hung at his side. His face was scarred, hard, emotionless. His eyes looked like someone who had survived storms no normal being could imagine. "I am Commander Hale of Earth's Vanguard." His holographic presence alone made half the officers step back. The Admiral tried to maintain his confidence. "Earth has no authority here," he said. "We rule this galaxy." Hale tilted his head slightly. "Then you rule in ignorance." Before Vor could answer, the distortion behind the human ship suddenly expanded, growing bright enough to illuminate the Empire's entire border region. A massive wave of red light surged outward. Imperial sensors screamed warnings. Unknown energy surge. Shields failing. Weapons offline. Engines not responding. Human ships glided forward at impossible speed, splitting into smaller formations. Earth's drones spread like glowing sparks across the battlefield. Each drone emitted a faint hum, scanning the Imperial fleet with beams of red light. The drone stopped in front of the Imperial dreadnoughts, hovering silently. A single tone echoed through space, sharp and cold. Commander Hale spoke again, his voice echoing across the Empire's broadcasts. "We gave you a chance. This is your answer." He raised one hand. The drones activated. Red beams shot across space with surgical precision. They did not explode. They did not burn. They simply erased anything they touched. The front line of Imperial fighters vanished instantly, leaving behind only drifting motes of glowing dust. Panic erupted across the Empire's bridge. "They're destroying our fleet. We can't target them. Our systems aren't responding." Hale watched them calmly, as if witnessing routine work. "Your weapons are ineffective. Your shields are outdated. Your technology is centuries behind ours," he said. "Do not force us to proceed further." Admiral Vorik was trembling now, but pride still burned in his chest. "All ships," he shouted. He never finished command. One of the human drones approached the Imperial flagship's viewing window. Its red eye glowed brightly. Then, in an instant, every weapon on the flagship powered down. The entire ship fell into darkness. Officers fell silent as their consoles shut off one by one. Even the artificial gravity flickered. Commander Hale's hologram stepped closer, towering over the officers. "Your empire believes strength comes from conquest," he said. "Earth learned strength from survival." Outside, the human fleet adjusted into a perfect circular formation around the Imperial border. A red barrier began to form, a massive dome spreading like liquid fire across the stars. Imperial officers gasped. "They're closing the border." "But that would take millions of power units." "How are they doing this?" Hale answered without being asked. "This border is now sealed. No Empire ship will cross it again." Draelos finally found his voice. "Why? Why block an entire region of the galaxy?" Hale's expression hardened. "Because you broke too many worlds. You enslaved too many species. You crossed lines that should never be crossed." He pointed outward toward the glowing barrier. "Earth does not conquer empires. We contain them." The entire bridge went silent. Finally, the truth became clear. Earth had not come to wage war. Earth had come to deliver justice. Commander Hale's final words echoed through their failing speakers. "First contact has been made. This is your silence before the storm. Obey the warning." The hologram vanished. The human fleet turned away, leaving the Empire's strongest armada powerless and humiliated. In that moment, the galaxy realized something terrifying. Earth was not a myth. Earth was not weak. Earth had returned, and the Empire would never be the same again. The collapse of the Galactic Empire began not with explosions, but with a silence so unnatural that every commander who heard it felt dread crawling up their spine. After the human fleet completed its first demonstration of power, the Empire's border systems flickered and went dark one by one. Entire scanner networks shut down. Communications fractured into static. Warp routes collapsed as if the galaxy itself had sealed the Empire inside an invisible cage. Commander Drelo stood in the Imperial War Center, watching the star map melt into red and black distortions. Fleets disappeared from the display faster than officers could report them. We are losing contact with Sector 12. Sector 7. Sector 4, one technician shouted. Another officer yelled. The Second Armada has gone completely silent. Drelos clenched his jaw. They can't just be gone. Find them. But he already knew the truth. The humans had wiped out entire fleets in seconds and left no debris behind. Even the Empire's most advanced AI could not calculate what weapon had been used. In the council hall, panic spread like fire. High Chancellor Raiton slammed both hands on the war table. How can this be happening? Our fleets are unmatched. Admiral Vorik swallowed hard, unable to hide the fear shaking his voice. It's their technology. It is beyond anything we have witnessed. They shut down our weapons, our shields, our engines, somehow, without even touching our systems. Raiton stared at him, disbelief painted across his face. So what are we fighting? Gods. Vorik had no answer. At the border worlds, the situation was worse. Imperial colonies reported red lights appearing in their skies, glowing symbols floating like silent warnings. Minutes later, human drones descended, disabling the planetary shields by simply hovering near them. Military outposts lost power instantly. Command bunkers locked their own doors, trapping officers inside. One terrified broadcast came from a fortress on Regan 5. We are under attack. No, not attack. They're shutting us down. Our weapons won't fire. Our ships aren't lifting. What do we? The transmission cut out mid-sentence. Regan 5 went dark. In the imperial capital, citizens began to panic. Crowds filled the streets, staring upward at the sky every time a faint red shimmer appeared. Rumors spread like storms. Some said the humans were demons. Others claimed Earth had awakened an ancient superweapon. A few whispered that humanity had become something beyond flesh, a species shaped by the chaos of a death world. Inside the war center, more officers rushed in with new reports. The Third Armada attempted to regroup. Human ships were already there waiting. Our dreadnoughts cannot charge their cannons. There is no path of escape. They've sealed the hyperlanes. Commander Drelos forced himself to stay calm. Mobilize all forces to the core systems. We must protect the capital. But even as he gave the order, another officer shouted, Sir, the capital defense grid is failing. Something is overriding it. Drelos froze. Impossible. That grid is protected by 20 encryption layers. Not anymore, the technician whispered, staring helplessly at his dead console. Then came the report that broke the Empire's spirit. The Titan-class dreadnought Helios has been neutralized. Silence fell over the entire war center. The Helios was a legendary warship, the pride of the Empire, massive, heavily armored, and nearly indestructible. Drelos felt his heart sink. How did it fall? The officer's voice cracked. A single human ship approached and disabled it with one pulse. Gasps filled the hall. The Chancellor nearly collapsed into his seat. We can't defeat them. We can't even touch them. Meanwhile, across the Empire, cities prepared for evacuation. Civilians boarded shuttles in panic. Soldiers tried to maintain order, but struggled to hide their own fear. They had trained all their lives for war against alien civilizations, but not for this. Not for an enemy that didn't fight conventionally. Not for an enemy that didn't miss. Not for an enemy that shut down entire armies without firing a shot. At the same time, strange red barriers began to appear around Imperial systems. Massive energy walls stretching across star clusters. These barriers blocked all exits, sealing systems inside like cages. Scientists scanned the barriers and panicked. These fields are beyond our understanding. They're rewriting the space around them. We can't break through. We are being contained. When Commander Dralos saw the barriers form on the star map, he felt his knees weaken. The humans were not just attacking. They were cutting the Empire apart piece by piece. Back in the council hall, Raiton slammed his fist on the table. We must negotiate. Send a message to Earth. An officer stammered, "Sir, we can't. They control the network. Our messages are blocked." And then, as if responding to his desperation, a familiar voice echoed through every Imperial speaker. "Calm, cold, human. Negotiation is unnecessary. You were given a warning." Officers froze where they stood. Lights flickered. The hologram of Earth's Commander Hale appeared in the center of the council hall. "Your fleets are gone. Your borders are sealed. Your weapons are offline. The collapse of your empire has begun." Raiton stepped forward, trembling. "Why are you doing this? What do you want?" Hale looked at him with eyes forged in the brutality of a death world. "We want peace, and your empire has made that impossible." He raised a hand. In real space, the human fleet moved forward like a silent storm. "This ends now." The hologram disappeared. The lights dimmed again. Outside the Capitol windows, faint red sparks appeared in the sky. Earth's drones arriving. And for the first time in centuries, the Galactic Empire understood a terrible truth. The fall had already begun, and nothing could stop it now. The Imperial capital shook as Earth's armada descended through the clouds, their red engines casting long shadows across the golden towers below. For the first time in history, the Empire's sky, usually clear and filled with its own proud vessels, was dominated entirely by ships not their own. The Titan of Sol, the largest human warship ever recorded, hovered above the capital like a floating mountain carved from burning metal. Its presence alone made the air vibrate, as if the planet was struggling to hold its weight. Down in the Imperial War Center, Commander Dralos watched with paralyzing dread. Officers shouted conflicting reports, shields flickered, and the entire planetary defense grid was collapsing at incredible speed. "They are bypassing every layer of protection," a technician yelled. "They're not bypassing it," Dralos said quietly. "They're shutting it down." Above them, dozens of human drones formed a ring around the Titan of Sol, glowing like a red halo. They hummed in perfect synchronization, sending tremors across the sky. The citizens of the capital stood frozen in the streets, looking upward in silence. Some fell to their knees. Some ran. Some simply stared, unable to comprehend how one world could bring an empire to its knees. In the council hall, Chancellor Raiton and his advisors argued desperately. "We must attack," one shouted. "With what?" another replied. "Our ships won't even launch." Raiton looked around, his face pale. "If we do nothing, they will destroy us completely." But before anyone could respond, the lights dimmed and the room filled with static. A cold voice echoed from every speaker across the planet. "This is Earth." Every Imperial communication channel opened at once. Military, civilian, emergency. Every frequency forced to broadcast the same transmission. The hologram of Commander Hale appeared in the center of the council hall, and also above the capital city, projected at massive scale in the sky. His armor glowed with pulsing red lines, reflecting the storm of energy from the ships behind him. His face was calm, but his stare felt like a blade pressed against the Empire's throat. "Your final warning has arrived," Hale said. Raiton stepped forward, trembling but defiant. "Why are you doing this?" Hale didn't blink. "Because you were warned. Because your empire broke too many worlds. Because your cruelty has spread across the stars unchecked. And because humanity will not allow it anymore." Outside, a deep pulse echoed from the Titan of Sol. The drones rearranged themselves into a massive circular pattern above the city, spinning faster and faster until the sky itself seemed to twist. "You stand at the border of what is allowed," Hale continued. "This line will not be crossed again." Dralos watched the hologram in stunned silence. "What line?" he whispered. As if hearing him, Hale raised one hand. In orbit above the capital, the Titan of Sol unleashed a wave of red energy. It shot into the sky, spreading across the stars like ink and water. The drones amplified the pulse, sending it racing across the Empire's map. In moments, entire star systems lit up with red barriers, massive rings of energy encircling them. The Empire's borders were being rewritten in real time. "What are they doing to our territory?" An officer screamed. "They're sealing it," another shouted. Hale's voice cut through the chaos. "Your empire is now off limits to all species. None may enter. None may leave. You will harm no one else." Raiton slammed his fist on the table. "You have no right. We rule this galaxy." Hale looked directly at him, expression cold. "Not anymore." Outside, Imperial dreadnoughts attempted a desperate launch, but as soon as they lifted off the ground, their engines died. One dreadnought fell back onto its platform with a deafening crash. Another exploded into harmless light particles, disintegrated by a drone's beam. Human ships descended further, surrounding the capital in a dome of glowing red light. The Empire's once great fleet, thousands of ships, now hung powerless above its own world, trapped like insects caught in amber. The council hall shook as another pulse rippled across the sky. Raiton stared upward, breathless. What is that?" "The line in the stars," Hale answered. "A wall you cannot cross." Draelos whispered. "They're caging us." Hale nodded. "Containment, not conquest. The galaxy will be safer without your reach." Panic erupted in the room. Generals begged for negotiation. Politicians pleaded for mercy. But Hale remained unmoved. "You had your chance to stand down," he said. "Instead, you answer with arrogance." The Titan of Soul charged its second pulse. Red energy built along its surface, illuminating the entire planet like dawn breaking. The people of the capital watched in terrified silence as the sky turned crimson. Hale's hologram spoke one last time. "This is Earth's final warning. Cross this line again and your empire will cease to exist." With that, the Titan of Soul fired. The pulse swept across the Empire's borders, locking them permanently. Warp corridors closed. Military networks shut down. Communication channels collapsed. The Empire's power ended in a single moment. The hologram faded. The drones dispersed. The human fleet turned away. Earth did not invade. Earth did not take territory. Earth simply left, leaving the Empire sealed inside a prison of its own making. Draelos stood shaking. We are no longer an empire," he whispered. "We are captives." And from that day forward, the galaxy remembered the moment humanity drew a line in the stars, one that would never be crossed again. The Empire's capital world lay silent after Earth's armada departed, leaving a red glow in the upper atmosphere that faded slowly like the last embers of a dying fire. The streets, once filled with soldiers marching proudly under Imperial banners, now carried only the sound-confused whispers and distant alarms. Buildings flickered with damaged power grids, and every military station remained locked, powerless, and unable to reboot. Inside the Imperial War Chamber, the surviving commanders gathered with Chancellor Raiton, their faces pale, their confidence broken. Commander Draelos stood at the shattered window, staring at the stars where the Titan of Soul had vanished, still feeling the tremors of its final pulse. "We lost everything," one general muttered. "Our fleets, our borders, our control gone." But Draelos shook his head slowly. "No, we lost something deeper." Before he could explain, the chamber lights flickered again, not from damage, but because a new transmission was forcing its way into the system. "It's Earth," a technician whispered. A hologram materialized in the center of the chamber. Commander Hale once again, standing calmly with his helmet under his arm. But this time, his expression was softer, even tired. Raiton stepped forward, anger and fear mixing in his voice. "Why return? Have you not humiliated us enough?" Hale stared at him without judgment. "I did not return to humiliate. I returned so you understand the truth of your defeat." Draelos frowned. "We already understand. Your technology is superior. Your ships are invincible." Hale shook his head. "That is not why you lost." Confusion spread across the chamber. Hale continued, his voice steady. "You lost because you misunderstood what strength truly means. You believe strength is measured by how many worlds you conquer, how many fleets you command, how many voices you silence. The Chancellor clenches fists. And Earth thinks it knows better? You sealed our borders like we are criminals. Hale's eyes narrowed. Because your empire acted like one. You expanded without mercy. You enslaved species who begged for help. You crushed worlds that simply wanted peace. And you believed no one would ever stop you. His tone softened, but his words struck even harder. You lost because you never learned what it means to protect. The officers paused, stunned. None had expected such an explanation. Raiton struggled to respond. Protect? We protected order. Hale stepped closer in the hologram. Order is not built on fear. It is built on responsibility, on sacrifice. He lowered his helmet. Earth learned this the hard way. For thousands of years, our world tried to kill us. Storms that shattered mountains, oceans that swallowed cities, creatures that tore us apart, diseases that wiped populations. We survived because we helped each other, because protecting each other became our nature. His eyes darkened, and when other species reached out for help, your empire silenced them. For a moment, no one spoke. Draelos felt a cold weight settle on his chest. So you came for revenge? Hale shook his head. Revenge is easy. Protection is harder. We came because your empire broke too many worlds. Because someone had to draw a line in the stars and say, no more. The Chancellor looked down, ashamed yet still defiant. But you destroyed our fleets, our weapons, our power. Hale replied calmly, you use your power to dominate. We use ours to protect. His hologram projected images in the chamber. Dozens of species the Empire had enslaved. Cities turned to ashes from Imperial attacks. Fleets destroyed simply for refusing tribute. Draelos stared at the images, feeling something unfamiliar, guilt. Hale's voice softened. They begged for help, and Earth answered. Another image appeared. Earth's red energy barrier, sealing the Empire in. Your borders are closed not to punish you, Hale said, but to stop you from harming others. Raiton's voice cracked. Then what becomes of us now? Hale paused, letting the silence hang. You will rebuild, not as conquerors, but as caretakers of your own worlds. You will grow, learn, survive, without hurting others. Draelo stepped closer to the hologram, speaking quietly. And if we try to break the border? Hale's answer was simple. You won't. The room fell into stunned silence. Hale continued. The galaxy is learning something new today. Power without purpose is nothing. Strength without compassion is weakness. And an empire that rules by fear will always fall. For the first time since the battle began, Hale's expression softened. Your people can live freely now. No imbachins, no wars. But cross the line, try to reclaim what you lost, and the empire ends. His hologram began to fade, but his last words echoed like thunder. You lost because humanity learned to survive together. You lost because we protect those who cannot protect themselves. And until you learn the same, the galaxy will not need you. The hologram vanished. The war chamber stayed silent for a long time. Finally, Chancellor Raiton lowered himself into his chair, defeated. We were never strong, he whispered. We were only feared. Draelos looked toward the stars, where the red boundary still glowed faintly. Earth didn't come to conquer us, he said softly. They came to teach us. Outside, the people of the Empire looked up at the sky, fear slowly turning into reflection. And as humanity disappeared into the dark, the Empire finally understood the truth. Power alone does not make you strong. Protecting others does.